What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by and say hello. Okay, so another DEC focused video here. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about the price of no, I'm sorry, that was a lie. We are going to talk about the price of DEC, but this is not like a DEC crashing video and all that fun stuff, or not fun stuff, I should say. One of the things that I've been kind of contemplating for a while, and I know that I even recorded videos on it months ago, was what happens to the rewards as DEC gets closer and closer to its peg. Well, now we are as close to the peg as we've been in a very long time, since before the airdrop, and this is something that I am thinking long and hard about. At the same time, I believe that the team has also found a workaround for this. So I'm going to get into what the problem is, and then two, it's somewhat of a workaround for the DEC rewards issue moving forward. So a quick recap, what was the rewards issue? Well, the amount of DEC rewards printed every single day when DEC is at its peg is about $1,000, right? Because if DEC is at its peg of 0.001, according to the algorithm, 1 million DEC are printed every single day. And 1 million DEC are printed every single day, and that multiplied by the value of DEC, that comes out to $1,000 in rewards paid out. Now, when DEC was at its height at 1.5 cents, we were 15x above the peg, and at that point in time, DEC was printing out 15 million tokens per day, multiplied by the higher range. And actually, here, let me go ahead and give you the numbers. So we were doing 15 million DEC tokens printed per day because we were 15x above the peg price. Multiply that by the higher DEC token value of 1.5 pennies. And the rewards back in October were at $225,000 in rewards DEC rewards issues printed and distributed every single day. Like that's what caused the bot farming, because people realized they could come in and set up probably tens of thousands of bots and just literally farm these rewards because it was printing out so much at that time. So now where are we at this point in time? Well, we're 2x above the, I'll round up here and say that we're at 0.002. So 0.002 means that we're 2x above the peg. So 2 million DEC printed per day per the white paper, multiplied by that 0.002 value. And we have $4,000 in rewards. So between October and today, we have dropped from $225,000 of daily rewards to now down to $4,000. And once we get to 0.001, right, which is the intended peg, that's going to be $1,000. Just to show you the math on prove my work right there, that's $1,000. And if we go below the peg, it'll be even less than that. So my thought about this, a while back was, okay, what is the team's plan here? Because it was almost like a happy accident that brought so much attention to Splinterlands that the airdrop caused the price of DEC to inflate so much. Yes, that was also the cause of a lot of other problems, and probably the created the bubble that happened pre-Chaos Legion launch. But as we get closer to the peg now, and as the team has said that they want DEC to really be a stable coin in the future, $1,000 in terms of rewards, when that was being split between 3,000 daily active players in the past, sure, that's a lot of money per person. But at this point in time, it's not going to be if the player base has at least 10x, or, if you look at the active daily active users, that's 300,000 players, right? 400,000 players. So the amount in rewards is going to be incredibly low for that reason. And, this is something that worries me in the future, because DEC is supposed to be the rewards token. SPS is not. And SPS, even though it will be distributed as a ranked battle reward, is only going to be distributed for 5 years or 65 months. So roughly 5.5 years, which, yes, that's a long time. In crypto, that's a very long time. And I'm sure a lot of innovation and a lot of changes and updates in the game will happen in that time. But still, that's not really what the intended use case for SPS is. So DEC is supposed to be the rewards token, and the token that's used almost as a currency here. So that's been something that has been on my mind. And now obviously we're much closer to the peg, and thinking through this over the next 4 months, what will be the case? Like, what will be the incentive for people to play if, 10x the amount of players are splitting, one one 225th of the money, right? So if we're down to $1,000 versus the $200,000 we were getting back in October, like it's just not worth it at that point, at least not from a comparison value. So before, my thought process was, well, the team would need to find utilities for DEC in order to raise the price, raise the value of it, meaning that people would want to buy it after the airdrop is done. And my thought with this was using some kind of thing with land. So you find this equilibrium where as the player base grows organically, the price and the value of DEC grows, therefore the rewards grow, right? That was my thinking with all of this. Mainly because the team does not want to change the algorithm. The team does not want to take DEC off of its peg. And they've been very clear about this in the past. A lot of people think that they will. A lot of people want them to. But the team is saying that this is where, this is what they put out, and they're not going to change it for any reason. So how does the team circumvent this? How do they overcome this so that their rewards will actually be worthwhile and not just $1,000 split between 30,000 to 40,000 players today and, $1,000 between maybe 1 million players in the future, right? In a couple of years from now, if the game continues to grow. Well, the way that they're circumventing this, and this is something that I've just recently wrapped my head around, was they're not touching the peg and they want DEC to be at its peg. But what they're going to do is essentially duplicate the amount of DEC printed per day by adding another format, aka modern format. So now they are going to double the amount of DEC printed per day while still keeping it at its peg. So what does that mean if you just look at it from a numbers breakdown, right? The white paper states for right now that, or as of now, that 1 million DEC gets printed every single day if DEC is at its peg of 0.001. Well, when modern format comes out, there's going to be a fundamental shift. So, it honestly kind of bothers me a little bit just because it's like this is a massive change to the algorithm, what they put out in the white paper for DEC. But I understand why they're doing it, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. It's just one of those things that makes me love Bitcoin, right? Because nobody can mess with Bitcoin. Like at the end of the day, that is true decentralization. But this is not, this is a game. This is play to earn, and this is not, as much as we want it to be decentralized, and as much as the team wants it to be decentralized, it is not. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We just want to make sure that the people who are running it are doing it responsibly. So to me, this is still a responsible decision, and it makes sense given the growth of the game and the addition of the new format. So now you have modern format and wild format, each printing out 1 million DEC per day, right? It's not going to be the 1 million split between both. It's going to be a brand new 1 million printed per day for, at that peg of 0.001. So now what they've essentially done is they haven't changed the peg. The peg for DEC will remain, and that is in line with, what Matt was saying during the recent town hall of them wanting it to be treated like a stable coin. But what they've done is kind of circumvent that whole algorithm by saying that, well, we're just going to change the rules to print more when DEC is at its peg, right? So instead of the 1 million, we're going to be printing 2 million. Now, what's that going to do? I mean, it's not exponential, it's linear. So, if DEC, if DEC is at its peg, we go from $1,000 in rewards per day to $2,000 in rewards per day. So sure, it's double, but if you're expecting the player base to grow exponentially, I don't know that really solves the problem, right? And even if DEC somehow finds a way to go up in value again, and let's say we go 5x above the peg, now all of a sudden, instead of the 5 million, instead of the 5 million DEC, 5 million DEC that would be produced for just the format as it stands now, you get 5 million for wild, 5 million for modern, totaling 10 million. My gosh, I can't do mental math today. So the point being that they don't even want DEC to go off its peg in the future. They're going to be much more conscious of that as they implement things in a way that they weren't when they did the airdrop. So this is something that is interesting to me because they have found a way to circumvent the algorithm by not changing it to go off of its peg while still issuing more for that, for that. I guess even though we're still, we're still in the peg, but we're issuing more essentially. So they're essentially still changing the rules, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But they're not changing the rules around the peg. And that makes sense given where they're coming from. So what does this mean in the future? Again, like it's not like 2 million DEC or $2,000 per day is going to change much in the long run as the game continues to scale up. But if they've done this now, that means again in the future, they could also come in and say, well, we're not going to take DEC off of its peg, but we are going to increase the amount that of DEC that is printed, the amount of DEC that is printed at the baseline, right? So maybe in the future, and this is all speculation, the team has not said anything, I've not heard anything. All I'm thinking about is how do they make it more enticing as the player base continues to grow? And this is something that'll have to be monitored very precisely and responsibly. Like they'll need to, they shouldn't just be doing it to, inject some interest into the game by inflated rewards, because at that point, if the economy is not sustainable, it will collapse on itself, right? So they can't just say like, we're going to change this from 1 million DEC printed at the peg to 20 million DEC printed at the peg, because now we're just going to have like a runaway inflationary token at that point. But what it does, or at least what it signifies, is that they are in charge of this. They will be the ones manipulating the currency in a sense. And I do trust Yabamat and Agrod and the team to manipulate it for the benefit of the community, as they have continually shown, that they will do. So if we continue to grow as a community, and I think what we will, and therefore, more rewards will be needed, then this is maybe something that will be changed in the future to increase, or if ever need be, decrease the amount of DEC that gets printed at the peg. And maybe even in the future, maybe they add like a midterm or middle like format, right? So you have wild and modern. Maybe they add something in the middle where it's just like the last 4 sets, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, well now we have a third format that we're adding in. That's maybe something completely different, right? But now it's a third format that gets its own DEC printer essentially, right? So now you're saying, well, wild has 1 million, modern has 1 million, and now this third format or fourth format or fifth format, they each have 1 million. So now we're still increasing the amount of DEC printed at the peg, and therefore increasing the amount of rewards paid out, but we're not touching the algorithm that takes it off of its peg or changes how much is issued when we are away from the peg. So that's my thought right now. It makes sense to me, and that's how I've rationalized what they could potentially do in the future to entice players to keep it competitive and to make it something that's like, okay, well, at least there will still be rewards and hopefully scalable rewards at that point. Now, I think what will be important, and maybe this is something that will come down to the SPS DAO, or the foundation, right? Where this is something that maybe the community will have a voice in choosing, right? At a certain point in the future, if we do another 5 or 10x and the rewards just aren't enough to really satisfy that group, maybe this is something that if you are an SPS holder, you get to vote on. And, hopefully all the people who own SPS and are participating in the economy and these decisions will look at it objectively, weigh the alternatives and say, okay, well, we are going to vote on this and choose to increase DEC to print X amount at whatever, X amount at the peg is what I meant to say. All right. I feel like I'm just kind of repeating myself or rambling now. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, but I do want to get your thoughts on this because, yeah, I mean, it's the future sustainability of this game, which I know Matt, Agrod, and the rest of the team are looking at. But it is something that I think about where, it's going to be incredibly important how the team handles this, and then how the community handles this as well if it does come to, an SPS governance vote or something like that in the future. So that's all I got for you in this video. Have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next one, and I will see you around the game. Take care.